Do you believe you have control over your life? That your choices are entirely yours? That your success or failure depends solely on your effort? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you've already fallen for the biggest trick in the social game. Most people go through life believing they are in control, when in reality, they are following a script that someone else wrote for them. It's as if they were pieces on a board, moving forward according to the moves that others have decided. This idea is not new. Niccolo Machiavelli, more than 500 years ago, realized that power is not a question of merit, but of strategy. He understood that society is not a space of justice and balance, but rather a game where a few dictate the rules and the vast majority just follow, without realizing that they are being manipulated. What few people understand is that these rules are not a thing of the past. They still govern the way the world works today, in business, in relationships, in politics, even on social media. Everything around you is a game. The only difference is that some play and some are played. The problem is that nobody teaches us this. On the contrary, from an early age, we are programmed to believe that all we need to do is be a good person, work hard, and everything will work out. But the reality is different. Success, whether at work, in social life, or in relationships, does not belong to the hardest working, but to the most strategic. Whoever understands this can shape their destiny. Those who do not understand are shaped by the destiny of others. Have you ever noticed how some people, even though they aren't the smartest or most talented, always seem to be in control? They don't get there by chance. They know the rules of the game. The question is, do you know where you stand on this board? Are you playing or are you being played? Throughout this video, we'll explore the hidden dynamics of the social game, revealing how to identify your role, how to avoid being manipulated, and most importantly, how to turn the tables in your favor. Let's use Machiavelli's teachings and adapt them to modern reality, with practical examples that show how these rules still dictate who rises and who falls behind. In the end, you will have two choices: remain a piece or learn to really play. Now, let's get into the first big truth. Social gaming is real, and if you don't realize it, you're missing out. If there is one fatal mistake most people make, it is believing that the world is governed by justice and meritocracy. From an early age, we are told that all we need to do is be talented, work hard, and follow the rules to achieve success. But if that were true, why do we see so many smart, hard-working people stuck in mediocrity, while others, seemingly less capable, dominate the game? The answer is simple. Hard work isn't enough when you're playing a game whose rules are written for you to lose. Machiavelli already said that power is not given, it is taken. In life, no one will simply look at you, recognize your efforts, and offer you opportunities. What really determines success is not competence, but the perception others have of you, your ability to build alliances, and, most importantly, your ability to understand the hidden rules that govern the world. While you work hard waiting for recognition, someone else, less competent but more strategic, is manipulating the narratives and ensuring that recognition falls into their lap. And this happens everywhere. At work, we see dedicated employees who never get promoted, while those who know how to play the game rise through the ranks. In relationships, we see people who give their all, only to be discarded by someone who knows how to position themselves with more emotional intelligence. In politics, the most charismatic leaders, and not necessarily the most capable, are the ones who dominate. If you still believe that being good is enough to win, you've already lost before you even started. The great thing about social gaming is that it is invisible to those who don't know how to play it. Whoever is in control never reveals the rules, because a conscious player is a potential adversary. Therefore, those who hold power prefer to feed the illusion of meritocracy, so that you remain obedient, thinking that everything will be resolved with effort and patience. But time passes, and those who hope for recognition end up frustrated, watching the true strategists take what could be theirs. Take the case of Steve Jobs. When he was fired from Apple, many thought it was the end of his career. But Jobs understood the game. Instead of accepting defeat, he rebuilt his image, created a powerful narrative about his reinvention, and came back stronger than ever. What happened? Within a few years, He regained control of Apple and transformed the company into a technology empire. He didn't do it just with talent. He did it because he understood that the world judges more by perception than reality. He wrote his own story before others could write for him. And here's the crucial question. Who is writing your story? Are you shaping your own narrative, or are you just waiting for others to decide what happens to you? Social play is not about luck, fate, or merit. It is about strategy. If you don't understand this, you are doomed to be a spectator of your own life, while others take the opportunities that could be yours. Now that you understand that the social game exists and that it silently governs everything around you, the most important question comes: where do you stand on this board? The truth is that not all players have the same role. In reality, most people don't play the game, they are played. And this happens because there are three fundamental categories within this system: players, useful pieces, and lost rebels. Players are the ones who write the rules. These are the people who understand the social game so well that they know how to influence, manipulate, and move the pieces to get what they want. They are not necessarily the smartest or the strongest, but they are the most strategic. They know how to build narratives, form alliances, and control perceptions. They are leaders, business people, politicians, and strategists who understand that power is not a right. It is a game of influence and perception. Then we have the useful parts, which represent the vast majority of the population. These are the people who follow the rules without question, believing that the system is designed to benefit them. They work hard, are loyal and obedient, but never realize that they are being used for the interests of others. An employee who works himself to death while his boss climbs the ladder? A person who idolizes celebrities and politicians without realizing that they are being manipulated? Someone who passionately defends a cause without understanding who really benefits from it? These are all useful pieces, moved around the board without you even realizing it. And finally, we have the lost rebels. These are the ones who realize something is wrong with the game, but don't know how to play it properly. Instead of understanding the rules and using them to their advantage, they simply try to break them impulsively and end up getting crushed. They are the employees who try to challenge a powerful boss without having enough leverage, the activists who scream against the system without strategy, or the people who try to expose stronger players without realizing that this only makes them more vulnerable. History is full of examples of people who tried to challenge the game without strategy and were eliminated before they could even make an impact. But how do you know which of these categories you fall into? Simple. If you think being good is enough to win, you're a piece. If you feel like you're always being manipulated, that others get what they want while you're left behind, that your achievements seem to depend on the permission of someone more powerful, then you're playing on the wrong team. See how real players act. Politicians and CEOs don't make decisions based on morality. They make decisions based on strategy. They build alliances not because they like someone, but because they need that someone to achieve their goals. They create narratives to shape public perception. They understand that reality doesn't matter as much as how it is sold. That's why the most successful people in the world aren't necessarily the smartest or hardest working. They're the ones who know how to position themselves in the game. And that brings us to the most important point. Just because you're in a peace position doesn't mean you have to stay there. The game can be learned. And more than that, it can be turned to your advantage. But to do that, you need to stop following the rules that were written to keep you at the bottom of the hierarchy. If you've realized up until now that you've spent a good part of your life being a pawn in someone else's game, the big question now is, how can you get out of that position and become a real player? The first thing you need to understand is that being a player does not mean being manipulative, dishonest, or cruel. The real game is not about deceiving people, but about understanding the rules and using them to your advantage without becoming a target in the process. The first step is to learn to control your public image. If there is something that Machiavelli understood perfectly, it was that people do not judge by reality, but by the perception they have of reality. This means that what you appear to be is as or more important than who you really are. The problem is that most people completely neglect this. They believe that all they have to do is be good at what they do and recognition will come naturally. But that's not how the world works. The world doesn't reward the most talented. It rewards those who know how to sell their own story. Take the case of James Bond. He is not the strongest or most intelligent man in the world, but he knows how to project an image of self-confidence and mystery that makes him irresistible and respected. This doesn't mean being fake. It means understanding that perception matters more than reality. If you don't control how others see you, someone else will control it for you. But image isn't everything. The second step to becoming a player is to master the power of strategic alliances. No player wins alone. Machiavelli said that a prince must avoid being hated because he knew that power is not sustained only by force, but by the network of allies that you build. And here's the big mistake most people make. Many people try to network in a desperate way, flattering other people or asking for favors without offering anything in return. This doesn't work. The best alliances are formed when there is mutual value involved. If you want to connect with powerful people, you need to first become someone who adds value. And finally, the third step is to learn to be a social chameleon. The world is not fixed. It changes all the time. Successful players are not those who impose their will rigidly, but those who know how to adapt without losing their essence. If you're the type of person who only knows how to act one way in any context, then you've already lost. Great strategists know that each environment requires a different approach. At work, you may need to be more diplomatic. In relationships, you may need to be more assertive. In certain situations, silence is worth more than words. In others, boldness is what will get you moving forward. The problem is that most people always act the same way, without realizing that they are playing with the wrong cards. If you want to move from being a pawn to becoming a real player, you need to learn to control your image, build strategic alliances, and adapt to change. But none of this will help if you don't know how to act at the right time. And this is the big difference between those who dominate the game and those who remain as pawns. The ability to make strategic decisions before others realize the opportunity. Now that you understand the social game, have identified your position on the board, and know how to start playing, comes the most important part: how to ensure that you never become a piece again. Because here's the big problem. Many people learn the rules, but when it comes to applying them, they hesitate. And this hesitation condemns them. Machiavelli was clear. Opportunities wait for no one. Those who do not act at the right time lose to those who do. The first rule to ensure you are never manipulated again is to never reveal your true plan. If you tell everyone what you're thinking, what you want to do, and what your next steps are, you become predictable, and predictable people are easily controlled. Great players don't talk, they act. Let others guess your moves. This builds respect, intrigue, and prevents them from trying to sabotage you before you even get started. Strategic silence is one of the most underrated weapons in the social game. The second rule is to be unpredictable. The biggest mistake anyone can make in any game is to be easily figured out. If people always know how you're going to react, they can use that against you. This is why great leaders and strategists like Elon Musk and Putin keep an element of chaos in their decisions. They never make others comfortable. Predictability leads to vulnerability. If you want to win the game, you need to surprise. And finally, the most important rule of all: act decisively at the right opportunities. Most people fail because they hesitate. They see a chance to move forward, but they wait too long, think too much, doubt themselves, and when they finally decide to act, it's too late. Real players make quick, calculated decisions while others are still thinking about whether or not they should act. If you see an opportunity, seize it. He who hesitates loses. The social game is relentless. There is no room for those who passively wait for things to happen. The world is not kind to the naive. If you want to ensure that you never become a pawn again, you need to internalize these 3 rules. Keep your plan secret, be unpredictable, and act decisively at the right time.